We're live with Rob Mohr. Rob, how's your afternoon going?
It's going good. How about yours?
It's good. And you've promised to talk as loud as possible. Usually you're a very quiet,
Yeah,
soft person.
I'll try to speak up.
This will be new for you to raise your voice and to have your voice heard. So
Exactly.
I think we all look forward to that. Before we get into to work stuff, tell me about this Josic guy. Am I saying that right?
Jokic,
Jocic.
Nikola Jokic.
Jokic is
It's
he
always
the
fun talking
best?
basketball with you, Kelly. It's
Is
always
he
fun.
the best basketball player in the world? Because he just won the MVP, right?
Well, you can't just judge him on one championship, Kelly. I mean, but
But
yeah,
he
he was
was
a
the
blast.
MVP.
I watched the games because of him, so it was fun. He's a good player. He's fundamentally sound. You love to see the fundamentals. So,
I could. It looks like I could out jump him, though. Does that mean I could be in the NBA?
well, if you're 7'2" or whatever he is, that doesn't
Then I
matter.
have a chance.
Yeah.
If it were me in versus you versus Shaq versus Giannis, who do you think would win the free throw contest?
you know, I did all right with free throws. My record happened to be attempts, not makes. So
You
that
were you were you were fouled a lot. Is
I
that
was
right?
I was fouled a lot. I was a little guy, you know.
You were not a little guy. You were a big
I was
dude,
playing against a bigger guy. So
bigger than you. And what are you 6'5" or 6'6" or?
6'4", but I'd be playing against 6'7", 6'8". So I'd have to go in and
Well,
use my body. I was kind of cheap back in the day too, if you can imagine. So
yeah. I'm going to say that I'm going to assume that I could win the free throw contest as a hockey player. That's not saying very much. But you've never really talked about. You were the most you had the most free throws, whatever that record is. How were you as a free throw shooter? Were you
I
decent?
was I was probably always I never got into the 80%. It was probably in the 70s.
Oh, but I mean, you were much better than Shaq or Giannis.
Shaq couldn't, you know, and Shaq had a good point. He always said, imagine trying to shoot a basketball with like a tennis ball. It's not that easy, and that's how big his hands are. So
Yeah.
that was his excuse anyway.
You know what? And he made up for that with other parts of his game. So it's not like but when you're someone who doesn't watch a lot of basketball, and then you watch both him and Giannis shoot free throws, you think to yourself, how are they possibly in the league? But then you watch more of the game and you're like, well, Giannis just
Yeah,
cuts through everybody and he can jump from half court and go over everybody, the top of them, and he slams it in. So I
right.
guess that's how.
Athleticism and size.
Yeah. Well, when I first saw you, I like to tell the story that I said that dude is in the NFL. There's no he played NFL football, and I thought you were like a tight end, NFL tight end kind of person. And when I found out you were a basketball player, I thought, well, that was a mistake. And just based on how good your son is at football, that might be true. I mean,
You know,
unless
you
yeah.
don't give basketball players enough, respect for how strong they need to be to play the game. So
Right. I see
it's
that
not.
that's why they look like marathon runners, like half the team.
Well, some of them do.
Yeah, no, I think there are obviously you look at some of them and they're big fellas, but some of them are not.
Right.
They look like like long distance runners.
Yeah.
But your son is a great football player. He got that from someplace. That must have been
Probably from
partly
his
at
mom.
least you.
His mom was a
Well,
lot faster.
yeah, smarter too, probably,
Smarter
right?
too. Yeah.
Yeah, not too surprising. Tell me about. That's not a cut. We're complimenting your wife, which
Yeah.
is the right thing to do because
Right. Right.
it's true. Number one, and number two, it's the right thing to do. Leadership. You're in charge of a large group of people, including a large group of owners. What do you think the toughest part for you in leading the group is? Leading the owners and leading the leaders of the company. What do you find challenging in leadership?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think in adding to the definition of what you said for our group, we're still across our entire leadership team and partners. We still treat ourselves as a pretty flat organization. And I think so that makes a challenge for anybody in these type of roles that you got. For me, it's like, when do you interject and when do you not interject? When do you let get yourself involved, and when do you just let them, handle the entire, whatever the situation might be? I think, and I make mistakes there too. I sometimes think there's, need for some input when they have it fully under control, and then there's other times when they're looking for some input that you need to jump in. So I think that's my biggest challenge of, I mean, if it was a straight, okay, I'm the guy, I started this thing, I'm everything, then maybe I'd feel a bit more about, okay, I can have a little more say. But we're a partnership, right? So when our partnership group, we all have the equal say. So I have to really determine when it's best for someone to actually need to take the reins and say, okay, well, let's just move on and I'll make the decision on that. That's the biggest challenge, I think. And then and with extending that to our leadership team, I mean, we have some extremely strong leaders that lead our different groups that really have a lot of experience. So it's the same challenge there of just making sure you let them, take charge of what they need to, and then provide guidance where you think it becomes valuable.
Yeah. You, I'm not surprised when I hear this, but people, when they talk about you, when we're talking about you behind your back, which is fairly often, I'll hear people say, he's such a great mentor, and he's so patient. And that part in particular, I I always give the double take, like, what did you just say? He's patient, but do you feel like that's a strength of yours, because you do have a reputation of being a good listener and being patient? So is that something you work on? And I would agree with those traits, by the way.
I don't, patient might be a way of defining it. I just, like I just said, I think we have a lot of smart people around us. So I like to hear their input, and because I think we're going to get a lot out of it. And I think the group think is pretty valuable on a lot of situations. So I think the patience might be more of me waiting to hear all the input, and my decision can be swayed off of that input, right? So I'm not so stuck in my way that I'm going to just say no. I'm going to overrule that, and so I probably do that to a fault. Sometimes take too much input, because I know sometimes when we do some retros to look at some decisions, maybe I listen to too many people, so I think that was a weakness as well. And I think you're the king of saying that we got to move fast, we got to make some decisions and move on. And sometimes I get, stuck in that analysis paralysis, and start trying to look at too many sides of the equation. But I think that can be perceived as patience sometimes. But it's because we like to surround ourselves with the smartest people, right? So I'm going to listen to them.
Yeah, yeah. It is a tough economy. The it's showing signs of resiliency in a lot of ways, amazingly, but I still consider it. I feel cautious about where we're at with the economy. I think you probably share that at some level. We're seeing that from an employment perspective in technology, which is very uncommon over the 30 years we've been in it. What do you have the organization focused on in your mind? What's going to be important over the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's the common thread we've had for the last 25 years is diversity in clients, right? It's being able to handle the ups and downs by having a diverse set of clients that handle these types of slowdowns in different ways. I think that's helped us keep an even keel, but because of that, because of the large companies that are doing a large number of layoffs and slowing down on projects, and I think the common theme from all of us has been we got to explore every opportunity and see every way we can possibly help our clients. And nothing's too small, nothing's too big, nothing's out of our wheelhouse. Well, some things are out of our wheelhouse, but things that we think that we can be of value, we got to jump all over and do our best to win that one little role. We can't be picking and choosing. We got to see the best ways we can help all of our clients. And I think in the healthcare space, it's that way as well, where I'm seeing some, like, maybe on the payer side, they're slowing down on some of the work they're doing, but on the innovation side of these smaller companies, these hubs, these clients that are trying to get more information out to the patients, those clients are thriving right now. They're doing projects. They're finding ways to get projects done, and so we got to look at ways to educate more of those types of clients to what we bring as a team. So it's like I had a couple calls today. It's just pure networking and talking to as many people as we can, getting our message out there, getting the fact of what we can provide, doing as much as that as we can every single day, right? The
Yeah.
same thing you do on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think, I think all that makes sense. And I know that as a group, we're talking about how do we make sure our clients are successful? How do we, when it's a tough environment for our clients, we can be local. How do we make sure that our clients know that we are aligned with them and we're going to do everything possible to be there and be the best possible partner in this tough period and in the longer term? And because this is when you differentiate yourself as a true partner versus just someone who's there to collect money when it's convenient.
Right. Yeah. And I think something when you say true partner, that makes me think about some things we've been trying to do on offering our solutions in a variety of flexible ways. You know, we've talked about the dev center. I'm a huge believer in the value of providing a great technical team that's available upon request versus not something that's going to sit at the client site for 40 hours every week without the volume of work they need to keep them busy. I mean, I've been using them for all my projects and doing that, or doing assisting another company with they want to explore with offshore, making sure we have the right expertise to help them with that expertise, or else you know providing just subject matter expertise at a limited time, so they're not. I have a few projects where an SOW went out for, I think they're only doing like 2 hours a week with them, but they're providing a great 2 hours of subject matter expertise for that time. That's extremely valuable to the client, and so they have access to that without paying for a full time resource. I think we just have been really flexible how we're willing to work with our clients. That it has allowed us to provide a value in a lot of different ways. I think we got to continue to brainstorm different ways that we can do that to kind of match up to the exact need the client has, right?
Yeah, very well said. Rob Mohr, thanks so much for spending time with us. We appreciate it. As always, good basketball talk. And for everyone else out there, thank you for watching the vodcast.
Thanks, Kelly.